Hello, everyone. Hey, happy Thursday. Welcome to Doug's Encouraging Word here at Central Christian Center and Life Recovery Ministry. We're glad that you're here with us. And my title for today is the science of resilience, which we've been talking on for a couple of weeks. Also, our topic has been in the area of I'm sorry, I just was having a hard time checking my volume and everything. So anyway, we got that taken care of, and I appreciate you being tolerant with me. But science of resilience. Also, we've been covering the 10 traits of emotional resiliency of people. I'm finishing that up today. Also, my overall topic that I'm covering has been on the science of happiness. This is actually part 5. So I'm going to touch also in the opening here about people and Bible characters that demonstrate resiliency. I thought I'd throw that in there since I kind of have a short part here to finish up the 10 traits, because I got 5. Of course, I did 5 last time, but maybe I can go quicker this time. So anyway, thanks for being here with us. The science of resiliency. It's such a big topic. The definition that some psychologists use to define the resiliency is, and I gave this last week, but I thought I'd do it again this week. The process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threat, significant source of stress. Also, such things in family matters or relationship problems, serious health problems, workplace problems. This, we should cover it all here. There's one more: financial stressors. So, I mean, there's all kinds of trouble, because you see, life is messy, and there's a lot of messy areas. So this definition says that resiliency is a lot about being able to bounce back from all these different problems, all these different experiences that we're going to have, because we will have problems. Even Jesus said that in this world there are many tribulations, but he had overcome them all, and he'd given us his strength and his peace to help us in that. So as we learn to be resilient and also to bounce back, then we have the opportunity, a profound opportunity, to have personal growth. The definition out of the let's see, I don't have down here which. I got this off the internet, the definition of resiliency. And this is start off with, is a general physics or object or material definition. And that is the capable to regain its original shape or position or proportion back, even if it's been bent, stretched, compressed, or disformed, like elasticity. Personally, this is definition number 2, is to be personally able to, after these hard hits we're talking about, to recover easily and quickly. Now that's pretty big statement there, easily and quickly, from shock, illness, hardship, etc. Scripture out of Galatians 6:5 says, let us not, I capitalize not, let us not become weary in well-doing. For at a proper time we will reap a harvest if we don't give up. That's essential, that we have to be persistent. We have to have that resiliency in that. And that's what the scripture's going to be talking about. Also out of Proverbs 24:16 says, though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. So it's not that we don't have problems. Some people think that people that live for God never has problems, but that's a misconcept. And so we all have problems. Some people seem to, some people seem to be a magnet for problems, and maybe it has to do with how they look at problems, or maybe they seem to react so that their problems seem to show up more for people, has longer lasting effects in people. Just a passing thought. I looked up this definition. I thought this was good. And it says, what does spiritual resiliency mean? See what you think about it. Spiritual resilience is the ability to sustain one's sustain one's sense of self and purpose through the set of beliefs, principles, and values while encountering adversity, stress, trauma, by using internal and external spiritual resources. Now, I thought that was very interesting. Internal and external spiritual resources. What are some internal resources? Well, that would be prayer, meditation, contemplation, those type of things. We'll touch on a little bit more. External can be like walking in the woods, listening to music, taking a hot shower, or exercise, some things like that to help in the sense of those are some external. And one of the things I looked up was talking about forgiveness, and they had 3 different categories they mentioned here about this forgiveness, and and this is kind of both some internal and external, and that is you forgive, you offer forgiveness for things that you've hurt or harmed others. 1, 2, you recognize and forgive others that may have offended you or hurt you, and number 3, then you also need to forgive yourself for things that you have inflicted upon yourself, some hurt or harm. Thought that was interesting. Who are some Bible people or maybe some stories that showed resilience in the Bible? Well, here are some people, some characters that demonstrate resiliency. One that I chose was Dr. Martin Luther King. He showed a lot of resiliency and laid down a pretty definite and large and healthy path for people to walk. Another one I thought of was Thomas Edison, because he was resilient. He was determined. He kept after it. The story goes that he found 10,000 ways that how a light bulb didn't work, but in those 10,000 ways that it didn't work, he discovered many other things. But he was persistent. He continued. Moses in the Old Testament was extremely resilient. He had to overcome. But the one that I really want to touch on most here today is Joseph. Joseph in the Old Testament, where Joseph, he could have been classified as like the comeback king. He started off being a favorite of his father, but hated by his brothers. They were very jealous of him. They beat him up and threw him in a well. They were planning on killing him, but then they decided to sell him as a slave. So they sold him to a caravan that were going to Egypt, and then while he was in Egypt, then he was working in a house as a slave, and he was lied upon by the master's wife because he was unwilling to sleep with her. He didn't want to violate his own personal values. Now, this is a guy that's been mistreated, sold into slavery, and now he doesn't want to violate his values, his whatever purpose he felt like, and he felt like he had a purpose, and that was one of the reasons why his brothers hated him, because he spoke to them about his purpose. And so they put him in jail, and so he's in jail, and he was in jail for a long time. Some of the prisoners there brought dreams to him, and they were supposed to remember him, but they didn't remember him. And he went on, but he continued to be persistent, and everywhere he went, things, not instantaneously, but eventually began to change. It was all hard, right? I mean, it was prison. Jail is hard, even in nowadays, but what do you think it was like back then? Just a thought. But anyway, he did get called out, and because Pharaoh had a dream, and he was able to interpret that dream, and he gained favor with Pharaoh, and of course, you know the rest of the story. He was ended up running the country, and there was a big famine in the land, and next thing you know, his brothers show up down there because they needed some food, and Joseph was in charge of the food. And Joseph forgave him. Make a long story short, he forgave him. And because in fact, he said, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. That he sent a man to Egypt, and that was Joseph. And so he forgave him. Joseph was continually using his talents and his gifts. He was using those things that he valued, his purpose, to continue to push him on. But that doesn't mean there's not going to be problems in our life. If you have any ears whatsoever, you know there's going to be problems. There's problems, but it's how you respond to those problems that really determine how you're going to go. Okay? I heard this recently. I don't have it in my notes, so I have to do this from memory, but Nietzsche said there was like 3 different levels of people. One was he based it to like a camel, that the camel just lies there and moans. He just moans about what's going on. Number 2 was he likened it to a lion, that the lion was said no to things. He was more rebellious, more active, and said no. And there's a lot of good things that come about by saying no to um, um for inappropriate behavior, for meanness, for pain that's inflicted on others, that no to all these different things, and that's okay. And that's kind of like the way the psychology has been in earlier years. It was all about trying to eliminate the hurts and wrongs in people's lives, or the pains in people's lives, and it was basically to help them not to suffer as much. Even if you right all the wrongs, what do you have there? You're at zero. Zero is better than being way negative, I grant you. But number three was what's called the newborn child, and that is that all we need to do more than just say no to things. We need to find the yeses to say yes to, and that we need to say yes to good things. We need to say yes to addressing happiness and life and prosperity and healing and relationship and love and grace and mercy and peace. We need to say yes to all those things and have those, instead of just being, having all the negatives taken care of, which that's kind of hard to do really when it comes right down to it. But if we say yes, then that offsets those things, and life is better. And in fact, you have a better life, and your happiness quotient goes up. Okay, we talked about this is the science of happiness. So Joseph says that one of the things he said was that that if you gather up grudges, then you will not produce happiness. So, all right, the 10 traits that we covered, I'm going to list them real quickly and see where we're at. And the 10 traits are of emotionally resilient people is number one, emotionally resilient people know their boundaries. Joseph knew his boundaries. Now, it took him a while to find them, particularly when he was a young man, but then particularly when things got hard. And isn't that the way that it is? When things get hard, we start beginning to clarify and hone down really what we believe, where we're at, and focus on where we want to go. Okay, or you're like that camel and you just give up and moan, fall into just fall in that pit of suffering. So anyway, number two, emotionally resilient people keep good company. Now, if you just look at the life of Joseph, he continually, yes, it was up and down, but he was continually always connecting with good people. And not that he despised the others, but he was always connecting. And we need to make sure we connect to good people. That's what resilient people do, because those connections are very important to continue to network and grow in life. Number three, emotionally resilient people cultivate self-awareness. We have to cultivate our self-awareness. We need to recognize what our values are. Okay, our values are very deep. We need to not relinquish our values, and we need to be aware of what our values are. We need to understand that when we live out our values and our purpose, we like ourselves better. We esteem ourselves better. And it also builds this resiliency that we're talking about, and that helps you to stay in the fight, so to speak. Number four, we emotionally resilient people practice acceptance, and we we have to um, um, we have to recognize what reality is. One of the statements I have up on my sign here in Saturday Night Live room, it is what it is, because it is what it is. Reality is reality. We have to accept reality the way that it is, not wish it to be something else. Now, we don't have to like reality, but we have to accept it. And if we accept it, then we're able then to affect it. Okay? But if we're continually denying it or hiding from it or avoiding it or lying to ourselves about it, then we're setting ourselves up. That's basically a self-sabotage situation. So we need to accept reality, and that is that we become self-aware. We cultivate self-awareness. Number 4, practice self-acceptance. That's where we were at. Self-acceptance. Number 5, are willing to sit silently. Emotionally resilient people are willing to sit silently. That means that you're willing to sit silently, deal with your thoughts, recognize them, deal with them, dispute them if you need to, but you're there to process them. Prayer and meditation. Prayer and meditation, a lot of people think prayer is about trying to change other people and change God and change the situation. And some of that can be true, but you really are not able to be effective anywhere out there until you got this inside here taken care of. Come into peace, okay, and have forgiveness, healing, and really be able to operate in love. And then when you're in love, that affects everything outside. I need to hurry on. Number 6, this is a new one here. Emotionally resilient people don't have to have all the answers. Instead of reading them all, I'm just going to go ahead and talk more about it, just like I kind of been doing already with the top 5. But we don't have to have all the answers. The truth is that the psyche, our human psyche, it has a built-in protection mechanism. It works on our behalf, whether we're conscious about it or not, consciously or unconsciously. It regulates our stress for us. Our brain is amazing because it will actually, and you probably already have a good idea about this, it will actually shut down, block things out. It will numb you out. It will, you can even go into a tunnel vision, so to speak. And when you get overwhelmed and stressed, the amygdala kicks in and goes into survival mode. They say that it shuts down other parts of your brain, other parts of your brain that you actually are able to think with or logic. You're not able to do that because you're in survival mode. And that's part of your brain trying to protect you. It works independently. It goes into some self-defense mechanisms. If you are faced with a particular unpleasant task, this is right out of some of the literature, it says your mind may choose to forget it. It'll just block it out, and then you'll say, oh, "Why did I forget that? How come I forgot that?" Your boss or your wife or your parents might say, "Well, how could you forget that?" I don't know how I did. Sometimes it's your brain just shutting down because it was so unpleasant. It just hid it from you. It sounds strange, but this is part of the science aspect of things. Some additional self-defense mechanisms include rationalization. Your brain will go into rationalization. Denial. Denial is an automatic mecism that works to help you to survive, particularly like in big traumas or death. You deny. You deny that there's even sometimes we even deny there's even is a death. Our brain does that to help us to get through the crisis, but then it starts opening up. But sometimes people get stuck. So anyway, rationalization, denial, repression, projection, rejection, a self-defense mechanism, and a reaction reformation. Reaction reformation is basically where you react in such a manner where you act like you like something that you don't like, and you reform that, even though it's really you're anxious about it. Also, you can try real hard to come up with an answer with something, and because you're trying so hard, you can't get it. But if you'll relax, take it easy, then and believe that that answer will come up. It'll come up eventually, and you'll find strength in knowing that it's okay to not know right at that moment. It'll show up. It's amazing how you can do that. And Einstein, all the time, when he got into a problem, he'd just go for a walk, and that did several different things. We're not going to talk about that, but in that walk, that normal walk that he had, it would release his mind, his brain to generate some new thoughts, kind of connect the dots, so to speak. And as we let go of that pressure, oftentimes when you're with a problem, sometimes they say sleep on it. And when you wake up in the morning, you have a better perspective. Sometimes you even have the answer. And we really need to do that, because our body and our brain and our spirit, they really do want to bring that up. And our spirit is always ready, but sometimes we have it pulled down with these other mechanisms, primarily our worry and concern. We try to control it. Number 7, emotionally resilient people have a menu or list of self-care habits. So we really need to take care of ourselves. We need to be aware of what we can do to help ourselves. And really, we need to have it more than not just in a mental list, but we need to have a written down list where we could see some things we could do. And, reality is what worked last week may not be as successful this week. Okay. Sometimes we can have a common system to help us to enhance our resiliency. But we need to have some self-care, because we need to take care of ourselves. If you continually avoid taking care of you, you're going to run yourself up against the wall, right? And that's where your brain will then shut down, or your body will shut down. That people do that to themselves because they believe that sometimes they should, or they're not worth to take the time, or all kinds of different things. So we need to make a list, or a menu, if you will, to some self-care habits, so that we can recharge our mental emotional battery. Okay, we have to recharge ourselves, because if we don't, then we deplete ourselves, and then when we're in that depleted state, we're more susceptible to mental issues, emotional issues, physical issues. Our immune system can be weakened. So we need to find some things that fill our cup or charge our battery. Here's a list of some activities. It's got try yoga, go for a run or for a walk, dancing, stretching, go for a bike ride. Don't skip sleep by trying to make up time for other things. I don't know how many times I've seen people that they would go, they'd have, for instance, they'd go on a weekend holiday and they just go all weekend. And when they got back Monday, they were sick. And it happened, and it happened. You could almost, it was predictable. Let's just put it that way. We do that to ourselves. We need to be, aware. How about that? Okay. And sometimes we just need to take naps. I'm not a real nap person, but here last week I was so wore out. I did take a nap on Sunday afternoon, and it was really needful. And so, anyway, just saying. Okay, so resilient people enlist their team. The people that are really resilient have team members that they say that they're a team, whether it's in work or in business or in church or spiritual things. Just we need to have a team. I tell people, you're part of my team, and so it's so important to enlist team members. They don't have to sign in, but you know who they are. And even if you can get, sometimes in recovery, we have sponsors or folks that can help us through some process, or mentors. We just need to, resilient people have resources that they can call in to help us. And they're part of your team. And I have people that are part of my team, and I'm grateful for those people. Resilient people consider the possibilities. Okay, we can train ourselves to ask which part of our current story are permanent and which part are possibly change that can change. So we need to realize that everything that's going on is not permanent. There's a lot of things that's going to change. Most things are going to change, right? And so we need to just be aware of that. Ask ourselves the questions: what's permanent? What's changing? Okay, it feels permanent, but the fact of it is, it's not permanent, right? And so we need to look at that, and we need to realize that we need to have a strategy to look at be willing to look at things and say, have I looked at this from every different perspective? Could I see this differently? Because when you see things differently, you have a different perspective, and then that gives you some different ideas or strategies or insights or how to deal with it. Oftentimes, we'll come up to a problem, and I may tell the guys, I say, hey, think creatively, okay, because they're already locked in to what won't work. But let's think creatively. Sometimes when I go to buy something or trying to deal with somebody, oftentimes I'll say, now, is there any other way we can deal with this? Now, be creative, and just kind of try to lighten the mood, but give them an opportunity to think for a second. And oftentimes people will come up with some other solutions than the one that maybe that was presented or they feel like they're locked into. It's just interesting. So when we shift our interpretation of things, I think I know that Dr. Wayne Dyer said this, but I think it was Neil Bohr that said it before him. It says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And Niels Bohr was a physicist, quantum physicist, I believe. And so, and when we have a different perspective, then that gives us more hope. It gives us more faith that things can and will get better. And you're still alive. So you were afraid wasn't going to make it, but you're still here. And we don't know how we got from there to here, but that same force, God's Spirit, that helped you get from there to here, and you didn't know how, will get us from here to there. Even though it's messy, we don't know the way. It's happened to me more times than I can count. It happens, and it's happened to you too. We need to be aware of that, and we need to recognize it and celebrate it. Okay? All right, last one. Emotionally resilient people get out of their head. Wow. We resilient people, sometimes resilient people are able to get out of their head. A lot of people get wound up in their head. Sometimes we get disordered patterns of thought that just affect us. And when you think a particular way, if you think in a harsh, critical, negative, destructive way, you release all these destructive chemicals in you, and it causes you to feel bad. And then the next thing you know, then you're behaving in a way that could be harmful or bad, unhealthy. And so what we have to do is we need to get out of our head. We need to recognize when we're in that place of stress or being overwhelmed, because when you're doing that, you need to realize, when I'm there, I'm on survival mode. I'm not even able to think very well. So for me, it's kind of like something I do when the problem jumps up and hits you in the face. I kind of like do an inward downshift. Slow down. I know it sounds weird, but I can just kind of slow down on the inside, slow my brain down, I kind of try to slow that feeling down inside my chest, and breathe and take a pause and just slow down so that I'm able to think so that I can respond instead of react. Okay? And I meant to talk about Joseph going through all these, and I forgot. But you think about Joseph here, when he was in his situations, if he would have continually spun out every time he went through a problem, he went deeper and deeper. But he didn't. And instead of spiraling downward, he did spiraling upward. So what we need to do is we need to sometimes, to give ourselves a break, we have to find some methods to help us to download some of this spinning that's in our head, because sometimes it's so spinning, whirling around, that it's confusing. So what we have to do is we have to start chunking that down. One of the ways of doing that is put it down on paper so that we can see what we're thinking. And as we do that, we can say, wait a minute, that's not true, that's not right, and we can begin to process that. Some things that I found, that some systems to help us to get under control, is the first one. There's three different areas. One is distraction. We need to get to distract ourselves, and I thought there were several different exercises. I just selected one. I thought this was an interesting one, and I had never heard this one before, and I'm going to try to implement this. And it says, use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. And what it is this. I'm going to try to say it quickly. Is that when you get overwhelmed and you need to kind of get out of your head, it's a distraction method here, is to first pick 5 things that you can see around you. You just pick 5 things you can see. So that's 5. 4, you've picked 4 things that you can touch. So you just intentionally touch 4 different things. So you go 5, 4, 3 things that you can hear. So you just stop for a moment and you listen and hear the sounds that you hear, and you identify those sounds. So you're using different sensory mechanisms to do that, and that's using different parts of your brain. So you're doing multiple things going at the same time. And so 4, 3, 2. 2 smells. Yeah, 2 smells. So you're using your olfactory sensory mechanism. So you're trying to determine 2 smells, okay? And then one is one thing you can taste. All those things kind of distract you. Number 3, actually, that was number 2 on grounding. Excuse me. That was a way of getting us ground, so you're kind of out of that spin. Number 1 was distraction, and that was hanging out with friends or doing some exercise. Exercise is one of my favorite ways of helping burn some of that excess chemical inside of you and slowing down, clearing up your head. It works really well for me. I've used it for years. Number 3, and the last one, is handling anxiety tips, and that is write things down. I've kind of already touched this. You write down what you're worrying about, okay, and then accept your thoughts without judgment. What you've written down, you accept them. That's what That's what I'm worried about. Okay, that's just what I'm worried about. And don't judge it, okay? All right? Don't judge it. And then challenge those thoughts, those things that you're worried about. Are they true? Are they rational? Are they irrational? Are they changeable? Are they permanent? Is there something real in reality I can do about it, or is there something I can't do about it? If I can't do anything about it, then worrying about it, fretting over it, it ain't going to change it. So I need to put my energy in areas that I am able to do something about. I think I went a little long. I'm not sure. Yes, I did. Sorry, that was not my intention. But hey, I'm for those of you that have listened, hopefully this has been helpful, and that you can able to get something out of what I've shared. And if you can, that's awesome. That's great. All I want to do is try to help you to be better, to navigate this life of messiness and stress, because, hey, I am doing it still, but, a lot of the stuff that I've processed through in my earlier part of my life, actually, a lot of it, I didn't have anybody to really give me some of this information. I've had to just kind of dig it out on my own. So if I can help you, that's what I want. I want to help people and turn that light on. So, hey, this is Thursday. Happy Thursday. I'm glad you're with us. If you're able to get out and get to church Sunday, come down and be with us. If you come in, ask somebody, where's Doug at? I want to say hi. That'd be awesome. Hey, if this has been a benefit to you, like it, share it. Comment on it, and that would be great. So until next time, till next Thursday, take care of yourself. May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may His face shine upon you and give you His peace. And of course, always make healthy choices. Till next time, bye-bye.